Good evening. My name is Glenn Funk, and I am the District Attorney General for Nashville-Davidson County. I want to welcome you to this year's Season to Remember. Even though I know this year's ceremony may look and feel different than in years past, our support for victims of violent crime will never change. It's why you are here tonight, and it's why we're here. Every time I attend Season to Remember, I am struck by the power of togetherness. Seeing the faces of all the families who have lost loved ones, I can feel the sense of community. No one asks to be a member of this group. However, every year folks show up to say the name of their loved one and to honor their lives, and to let others know that they are not alone. These families inspire me and remind me that even in the greatest darkness, light can be found as we share each other's burdens. Season to Remember may not always include a gathering under a tent, but no matter where we are, know that your journey is of the utmost importance to me. I know that there is no way that anyone can completely heal from the loss of a loved one to violent crime. However, I hope that the justice the District Attorney's Office seeks for your loved one brings you some relief from your pain. And I pray that this gathering and the grace of God bring you peace in the coming year.
Hello, I'm John Cooper, Mayor of Nashville. I'm honored to share a message of greeting and support during this year's Season to Remember. Season to Remember holds an important place in our city's heart, and that's because every year it seems like Season to Remember is exactly what's needed at just the right time for those who spend the holidays missing people we lost. Today we join you to remember and celebrate those people, your parents, your friends, your spouses, your siblings, your children. You belong to a group now, a fellowship of people who've lost friends and family to tragedy. I know it's not a group you ever wanted to be part of, and I can only imagine how it defines your lives in so many ways, not just today, but always. I also want you to know how much we admire you for your courage, your bravery, and the dignity you show in bearing this lifelong burden. I hope today's ceremony brings you comfort and even joy as you remember the people you love and miss, and as you feel the embrace of a community with its arms around you. Thank you.
I have been working with the police department with victims of crime since 1985.
Amy Griffith Taylor can tell you how Season to Remember began more than 20 years ago because she helped get it started.
As we had a meeting with survivors of homicide, and one of them came up with the suggestion in November of '95 of, wouldn't it be nice if we could make ornaments and place those on a Christmas tree to remember our loved ones? So within 3 weeks, we did the event. We thought perhaps, maybe 15, 20 families would come. It was before social media, so we got the word out very briefly and in the news media, but we had probably over 100 people come.
Mayor Phil Bredesen's office is again co-sponsoring a Season to Remember. Decorations are being placed inside the Metro Courthouse near the mayor's office in memory of those who lost their lives to crime.
We hope that in a small way that it helps people to get through the holidays that are grieving a little bit easier. Not that it is still extremely difficult, but hope that it helps in some way.
Other sponsors of the annual Victims Christmas Tree include the Victim Intervention Program, Metro's Domestic Violence Division, the Davidson County District Attorney's Office, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
So Mayor Bredesen at the time, he felt like this was so important also for the city to do something to show that we care. We care about these families. They've lost loved ones. There's nothing we can do to bring them back, but we can do something to show compassion and to allow them to be able to remember their loved ones in a very respectful way.
Behind the glitter and glue and fragile decorations are the most painful memories imaginable. A shocking call in the middle of the night. A young, vibrant son or daughter suddenly gone.
Because it never goes away. I think about Sarah all the time.
Jerry Jackson's daughter Sarah was murdered by Paul Reed while working at a Captain D's in February 1997. He says he has to be with this group and has to talk about it just to keep the memories from overwhelming him.
Through the years, the television stations here as well as the newspapers have been very supportive. One of the things that they have done that has been so helpful is that they will come when families are making the ornaments together. And we always do this several days before the actual ceremony. And then the word gets out to individuals who maybe don't know about it, but they then know that they can come to the ceremony that year.
After 4 years inside the mayor's office at the historic Metro Courthouse, Season to Remember moved to Centennial Park.
So having the ceremony at Centennial Park, obviously there's a lot more space there, and the ceremony and the number of people who have attended has really grown. I don't think that any of us knew that this event, ceremony, would be so important and that it would grow so much throughout the years. But it has, because of the importance it is to these families. They learn to live again. They learn that they can honor their loved one, that they can remember their loved one.
But this ceremony isn't just special to the families of homicide victims.
I think all the nonprofits and governmental agencies who have been involved with making this ceremony happen know that it happens because the survivors of homicide get some healing from this. And we all do this as a gift to them.
Good evening. I'm Chief John Drake, and it's my honor to welcome you to this 26th annual Season to Remember Memorial Ceremony. I realize that this coronavirus has changed the format of this occasion, but nevertheless, you are here, and for that, I am sincerely grateful. During my life, as I mourn the death of someone close to me, I've heard the words, "You'll get past this." But the truth is, we can't just get past the death of a family member or close friend, nor should we. The memories of the loved ones tragically taken from you will always live in your hearts, and the gift of those memories is meant to be shared. Even through the ornaments being placed on the tree this evening, you may find strength knowing that you are not alone. Whether you have been with us for the ceremonies in years past or here for the first time, you are part of a much larger, caring family. Please know that our police department and its victim services program are here for you. To everyone, I deeply appreciate you being a part of this year's Season to Remember ceremony. The men and women of our police department are humbly thankful for your support.
My name is Randall Lance, and I'm Superintendent of Horticulture for Metro Parks and Recreation.
Randall Lance watches over thousands of trees in Nashville, but there's one in Centennial Park that's extra special.
It's rather amazing. It's very important.
Important for what it means to hurting families heartbroken by violence.
I like the dynamics of the folks that come here. It's like a church. You see people reconnecting, and I think that's incredibly important around the holidays.
I'm always struck with the beauty of this park, especially at Christmas with the beautiful tree behind me. And this place seems to be in direct contradiction to the reason why we are gathered. But I remember then that the beauty is really in the coming together of people and loving each other and supporting each other.
Families have been gathering around a tree to remember their loved ones for 26 years now. But Randall remembers it didn't start here in the park.
And I got a call probably 3-4 years ago. Can you get us a small tree and we'll put it outside the door at the mayor's office? And we put it in a wash tub and put it there. And people would come, probably 10, 12, maybe 15 people, and we did ornaments on the trees.
Wilma Edith Stillman.
When Mayor Purcell became mayor, he decided it was too big, so we should do something with it. So at the last minute, I was asked to go find a tree. And the people that have been around a while may remember that in those days, we actually had an ice rink downtown for a couple of years. Well, we tried to make it very, like ice rinky. So we had all these spruce trees that I bought. Well, this one was the one I rejected. It was not being used. So I grabbed it, we stuck it in the ground, pitiful little tree. If you look at it, it's still kind of skinny. As it turns out, it's perfect for putting ornaments on.
And Randall isn't the only Metro Parks employee with special feelings for Season to Remember.
My first name is Danny, my last name is O'Neill. I've been doing it for a long time, about 10 years, and I enjoy doing it.
But Danny can also relate to families that gather at the tree. He too lost a family member to homicide.
I got a mama third cousin passed away, he was murdered, and that's the reason why I do it. He lived in a halfway house and they found him outside, no shoes on, no shirt, and wallet gone. And they never found the killer.
It's why this ceremony and this tree are so important, showing beauty despite the hurt, support to ease the pain.
We're delighted to be part of it.
It's like they're family members, like they're here when you do that. And it's part of them, and this tree is part of them.
My name is Don Cochran, and I'm the United States Attorney here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Don Cochran knows firsthand homicides not only affect the families of the victims, they affect the prosecutors who try the cases that leave memories that will never fade away.
Well, I was a homicide prosecutor before I had this job, and I think of a little 4-year-old boy and an 87-year-old grandmother. The two most innocent victims I probably ever had, and two that we failed as a society because there were violent individuals that, in the case of the little 4-year-old boy, he witnessed a murder that this guy committed, and then he killed the little boy just to keep him from testifying. And the grandmother was just living in public housing, had a little flower garden in front of her house. Just that's what everyone said about her, was how beautiful she kept her yard. And this guy who was a 4-time convicted felon killed her to pawn what little she had in this world to buy drugs. A club like Seasons to Remember is one that nobody wants to belong to, but it's an important thing we do as a community.
A community needing each other.
Probably too many people try to go it alone and deal with this most tragic of losses you could possibly face, the loss of a child or the loss of a family member, by themselves. And that's too bad, because there's a group here that can bond together, and a very small percentage of people that have experienced that same thing. I think that could be a helpful thing for someone facing such a tough situation. But I've dealt with a lot of families over the years that have had this kind of tragedy happen in their family, and their courage just continues to impress me every single time. I think sometimes people feel like if they get justice, they'll be whole. I don't think that's ever true. I think there's much more to it than that, and this is where Seasons to Remember and that kind of fellowship helps. But I do think we can help, and I've seen so many families thank me at the end of the process when we've helped them get justice for a family member, and we've been able to take it through the court system. It's a slow process, it's not an efficient process, but people like me and my prosecutors are sort of their guide through the American justice system. And usually, not always, but usually we can get a good result at the end where they feel vindicated.
Tevin started playing football, God, I want to say he was in kindergarten. He started playing football. He played in the junior pros and the little programs like that. And then after, high school and he went up to Campbellsville, he continued to play. My name is Pratima Scruggs, and Season to Remember to me is the families that gather who've lost their loved ones to homicide or violence. It's a time for me to go and remember my son, Tevin Scruggs. I've been thinking about him a lot the last few weeks. Tevin was my son. That was my baby. Tevin was a mama's boy. So even when he went off to college, he called me twice a day. And I was like, why you calling me? Why you calling me? And he was like, I'm just checking on you. He loved family. He loved hanging out with my brothers and his other cousins. We all miss him so much. He was at a friend's house, and I think they told me that he and a friend, they had just come back from the mall and they were standing outside in the driveway, and a car came through and stopped, and somebody said, there he is, and started shooting. Yeah, mistaken identity. So I think the young man that was mistaken, that Tevin was mistaken for, I think he lived across the street. And for his birthday, I have a candle that I use. And then I have a candle that I burn for the day of his death. And some days, I've been thinking about him a lot. I'll go to the cemetery and put fresh flowers, or I'll just get in a spot and just, meditate or something. And I think if he was still here with us, he would have been, he would have done great things. Even if it wasn't in football or anything, I think he would have done great things, because I think he was just that type of person. He got involved, and it was said, he didn't meet a stranger.
Your community remembers your pain and suffering.
Well, in one of the meetings in '95, we were trying to discuss what we could do for the victims to help get through the season. And Linda had suggestions, other people had suggestions, and then I suggested the Christmas tree ceremony, and that's how it was born.
Marcia and Linda Williams simply wanted to remember their mother, who was brutally murdered by a family member.
I remember getting out and running to the scene, and I see patrol cars and the ambulance, and they told me that she had been shot 6 times. And it was like something you never want to hear. Never, never want to hear. So I called Linda and told her what had happened. And I just heard her scream. And it's like you have these still images in your head that you can still remember exactly how things are.
My only child and her first grandchild was getting married in October. She had already bought their wedding gift, and it was really, really, should have been the happiest day of our lives. You're in shock, you don't believe it, you think you're going to wake up in the morning and it's all a bad dream. No one knows if they haven't experienced something like that, what it's like and how it affects your life forever.
And it's why the sisters started Season to Remember.
Just trying to come up with something that would include everyone.
It began with a small tree inside the historic Metro Courthouse, where families hung ornaments to remember their loved ones. It's now grown to a much larger ceremony in Centennial Park, healing just a little together.
You know, we understand, we know what you're going through, we understand your grief.
They feel like that they have a voice and that those people around them understand where they're coming from.
I think it says, you're not forgotten, we will not forget you, and we want people to remember that when something like that is a tragedy, you can never move forward and leave that person behind.
The sisters wrote a poem to remember their mother and all loved ones lost, whose ornaments now hang from the Season to Remember tree.
It's called Tree of Tears. Little tree so short and small, set special to see you by one and all. You say for us, for all to hear, the special meaning of you here. We hang these ornaments one by one for dads, daughters, moms, and sons. If on this tree tears could hang, and cries from hearts often sang, your little branches would touch the ground, a burden too heavy to carry around. Give us strength as we watch you grow, in remembrance of those we love so. The elements of life you go through, life as victims, we do too. Your branches will carry this heavy load. We, like the tree, will forever grow. And that's dedicated to our mother, Laura Naomi Patterson. Her birthday was 4/29/30, and she was murdered on 6/25/93.
Just past Watauga Lake in Centennial Park, in the shadow of the majestic Parthenon, is a garden in memory of children taken too soon.
Things Alicia Kafka and Adrian Dixon and him, they the reason for the season, and they the reason for the garden.
A simple monument bears the names of 3 children, all killed by violence within a matter of months in the mid-90s. One of those children was 12-year-old Jeremiah Warfield.
My name is Elaine Warfield. I'm Jeremiah Warfield's mother. He was killed in 1995, December 17th. It was on a Sunday. He went to the little store to get an ice cream sandwich and to check on the game room. And by the time we stepped up in the store, I guess about seconds later, gunshot wearing out, and he was hit. Bullets flew by me, you know, as I stood in front of the meat counter, but no bullet hit me at all.
The shooting rocked Nashville. An innocent little boy buying ice cream in a corner market, gunned down by random violence. Now, Elaine Warfield holds on to press clippings about the killing and the young boy and his dreams taken too soon.
He dreamed one day that he'll buy me a house, be a football player. But his dream was cut short. You got to forgive. If not, that'll hold you back too. So it don't seem like you should forgive him, but you got to, and you must, to move on.
Part of her healing came from the support of others who have walked the same painful walk and are now her Season to Remember family.
It's just amazing to me that something like a death, a tragedy, could bring people together make them have hope that, you know, things will change. He took care of me, you know, he tried to scrape me the right way, to do the right things. You know, at 12, you know, he go pay bills, and, you know, he's just a wonderful, beautiful child. And I miss him.
On Father's Day of June 19, 2005, my son Chris was murdered by a 15-year-old repeat offender. Chris was only 28 years old and left behind a wife and 2 young children. Chris's son Charlie was only 20 months old when he lost his dad. The only memories he has of his father are the ones that we can share with him. His daughter, Emily, was 8 at the time of her father's death, and she put a picture of her father in her high school graduation cap just so she could have her father with her on that day. The reality that horrendous things can happen anywhere at any time became ever present to our whole family.
You know, a season to remember is something that gives our family a real chance to celebrate Chris's memory and be with other families that have experienced tragedy just as we have. And we have found that, you know, the best way to help ourselves is to put our arms around other people that need it more than we do.
When I was in law school, my family had a tragedy. We lost my cousin Chris to essentially a senseless homicide. And I still remember, and that was 15 years ago, I still remember to this day sitting down with the assistant DAs that were handling the case at the time. And I still remember the kindness and compassion that they showed towards my family during those dark days. And I was fortunate to get the opportunity about 3 years ago to join the district attorney's office. And I felt like it was time for me to change my role, and then I could step in, serve the community, and try to bring that kindness and compassion that was shown towards my family. And now, as I walk in that courthouse, try to share that with the victims and family members of victims on the cases that I represent on a daily basis.
No one ever expects to lose a child, but to lose them in such a horrible way. He was working as a security guard, and he had let all of his people off that day and said, "I'll work Father's Day. I can still spend time with my kids that afternoon."
It's one of those things that's easy to take for granted, the ability just to go to your job every day, come home, be with your family, play with your kids. And then you have an incident like that happens that really impresses upon you that you don't know what day is going to be your last day. You really have to cherish every moment and every day that you have with your family. And it's something I don't take for granted anymore after seeing that, because like I said, I am fortunate so far that I get to come home every single day, where Chris had that taken away so early.
But it's always going to feel like a bad dream.
None of us really wanted to be in this group, but now that we are, we find that reaching out to one another is our best way to heal.
"19-year-old Aaron Vasquez was the lead guitarist for the band Taller Than Giants, a band breaking through on the Memphis music scene.
Aaron was a musician, was so full of energy, just a load of fun all the time, with the most amazing heart you could ever possibly imagine. He loved people. Like, he was just so happy to be around people, to make people happy. And he was just a good person.
That happiness and the music ended when a senseless murder took Aaron's life.
He was working on his last day on that restaurant because he was going to get an internship with the University of Memphis. And he was working on a restaurant over there in Memphis. And this guy, that it was after no good, he was kind of waiting for somebody to come out. One of the things with Aaron is it was a lady who worked over there that she's supposed to take the garbage out, and she was pregnant. So he told her, you know, hey, I'll do it for you, no problem. So when he went outside, the guy who was waiting for somebody to come out attacked him, chased him and stabbed him. And Aaron, he was able to get back in the restaurant. That's where he collapsed and passed away. Aaron over here looks like your mama. Even though it's been 7 years, almost 8, but it's still, in my mind, it's still like it wasn't too long ago.
There, like, my entire youth was just gone. I had to become an adult and call my parents and tell them that their son was killed.
Not long after the murder of his son, Baloy Vasquez also lost his wife.
That guy, he not only killed my son, he killed my wife. The reason why I say that is that my wife, she was a very healthy woman. For some reason, she got cancer out of nowhere. Something triggered those cells, and it might be, you know, like a stress, that's one of the things that it happens. And yeah, I lost my wife too. It's tough. There's a lot of stuff that I don't do. Like a Christmas decoration in my house, it was always my wife. She was decorating the house like it was Santa's house. There's a lot of stuff missing, and it's sometimes, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, but just keep on going. But he was very alive. I mean, he loved life. He was very happy. Still, there's a lot of people that miss him.
Before Nashville was booming and Broadway brought tourists, a businessman from Hollywood was known citywide.
He loved telling people about what they had, all the different collectibles that they had, what it was worth. My dad loved to smile and laugh and to be this little bit of the gloating center of attraction.
Bonnie Kirby shares memories of her dad, Meyer Burkhan, a beloved businessman.
So this was Mother and Daddy at the store when they were waiting on a customer.
It was in their own store they became crime victims.
So I'm 10 minutes into the drive to go get Jason, and I get a page from the store number. Couldn't figure out how they knew to do that, but they did. My dad somehow miraculously, after being beaten with the hammer, managed to do that and called the police as well. My brother and I pushed our way through the emergency room and says, we need to go see my father. And they didn't want anybody there because they were working on him. But we did, and my brother was on one side and I was on the other side, and we grabbed my father's hands on either side and said, Daddy, you've always fought so hard your entire life. This is the fight of your life right now, and you've got to hold on. And his last words were, I'm trying.
Meyer Burkhan died from his injuries. His wife, Bee, recovered and showed her family what a true survivor looks like.
From that day forward, she decided that she was going to be a role model for the whole family.
She was phenomenal in her years after that, with becoming much more independent, and she stayed in the same house and lived there. Went up and down the stairs every day, which scared us on a day-to-day basis.
On her bottom sometimes.
Yeah. And then she
Played the piano?
played the piano still, and she even became an artist. And there's some art in this house that she actually, a good close family friend who's a local artist here in Nashville, actually taught her how to draw.
And Bee Burkon got involved in Season to Remember, lighting a menorah to honor and remember her late husband.
Hey, Meyer, we're gonna light the candles. Your first Hanukkah. Ata.
Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech, Haolam,
Asher, Kiddushanu, b'mitzvah sav, lahadlik, ner shel Hanukkah.
Good job, buddy. Happy Hanukkah, Meyer.
To follow the Jewish tradition, a lot of times you'll have a first name that just starts with the first initial of a deceased relative's name. So M was really what we decided on and had a pool of boys' names. But again, I think we were just waiting to see what he looked like. And when he was born, I just really felt like he looked like Meyer.
My grandfather's life, her father's life, was taken way too early in a terrible fashion. And we miss him dearly. And if there's a way to honor his legacy and to keep that alive almost a quarter century later is pretty special to us.
Everybody loves the street. Well, Jefferson Street is sort of like the Broadway of the inner city black community. It is a spine where you've got three major black universities: Meharry Medical College, Fisk University, and Tennessee State. They all use Jefferson as a corridor of intellectual development. But it also has a history of the place where the community had to deal with the discrimination and racial injustice of Tennessee, in particular Nashville.
Kwame Leo Lillard is a civil rights legend who helped young freedom riders who came to Nashville in the 1960s.
You had to get to know all kinds of students from all kinds of walks of life from all over the country. They all came here, assembled here, trained here, then we sent them off to jails, Mississippi. So this was the mecca of the freedom ride right here on Jefferson Street.
But the storied history of Jefferson Street also includes pain for Kwame Lillard.
My dad was killed 2 blocks from here. He was killed by a man that was an insane man that should have been kept in an institution, but they let him out. There wasn't enough people to monitor him. He wasn't taking his medication.
To remember and honor his father, Kwame started lighting the Kwanzaa candles at Season to Remember, a tradition he has continued for more than 2 decades.
It is wonderful to remember, but it's to remember good things happen, to tie us all together, to make all of our pains go away by sharing the pain. So I light the candles of Kwanzaa, along with the people who light the menorah candles for Hanukkah. And it's a wonderful way to celebrate all the goodness of every religion. Every faith has a connection to itself and to others. When you come together, you share your pain. You come together, you share your hope. Come together, you just share the goodness of each other. And that's why I think we need to do this every single year, no matter how or where. It has to be done. So there is a reason for us all to look to a better day, look to a brighter day.
I want to thank you for attending this year's Season to Remember. Thank you for hanging an ornament on the tree, remembering and honoring your loved one that was taken too soon, And thank you to Tennessee Voices for Victims for organizing this event every year. Please know, as your district attorney, I pledge my support to you, as do the other agencies represented here tonight. Those agencies include everyone in my office, the Nashville-Davidson County District Attorney's Office, the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department Family Intervention Program, Tennessee Voices for Victims, the United States Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Tennessee, and the Nashville Metro Parks and Recreation Department. We leave you tonight with a poem written by Anita Lewis in honor of her brother Larry Huber, who was killed in 1997. It is in memory of all victims of homicide.